The bro vote. There's the Wall Street Journal headline, and of course that is Hulk Hogan, and the title is On the Ballot, American Manhood. And the subtitle is interesting. After decades of disorienting social and economic change, male voters are about to choose which model of masculinity will take them forward. Make no mistake, the election this year was determined by the bro vote. Traditionally, historically, it is suburban women who determine elections. This year, men showed up and men voted. Young men voted, Hispanic men voted, African American men voted. All categories of men, as a general rule, were up in their voting. Here's why. Most people are not weirdos. In culture, you would think that most people were weirdos. If you're living in one of the blue dot echo chamber cities, if you're on campus at a major university where people are educated beyond their intelligence, if you're on a social media platform that is forwarding a steady mind corruption of gender confusion, if you're listening to what is promulgated in mainstream movies and narratives, you would think that most people were weirdos, that most men want to cut their junk off, that most people think that mutilating their child is a good idea, and that gender is some fiction that is invented in our imagination. The truth is, what we learned in this election, most people are not weirdos. In fact, most people are tired of the weirdos. And most men don't want to cut their junk off, and most men don't want to mutilate their children, and they don't want the government seizing possession of them. This is the bro vote. This is the masculine testosterone backlash. What we also learned as well with the bro vote is that celebrity endorsements mean nothing. Taylor Swift told us who she was voting for, and apparently nobody cared. In addition, a Harris campaign, which spent a few $1 billion and overran their budget, now they are in debt, just tells you if you can't run a campaign, you probably shouldn't run a country, spent upwards of almost $200,000 for Beyonce to endorse, and $1 million for Oprah Winfrey. The two things that I find shocking about that is that Oprah Winfrey still exists. I had forgotten. In addition, that she can still get $1 million, and apparently $1 million pays you a losing election. We are seeing that celebrities no longer have the influence that they once did. Why? Because they're hollow, they're vacuous, they're pointless, and they're not helpful. And the bro vote decided, who cares who Taylor Swift, who cares who Beyonce, who cares who Oprah is voting for? They may even be the beast, the false prophet, and the Antichrist, so who cares? Now, what we saw as well during the election season is that there was a return to traditional masculinity. The culture will call it toxic masculinity. But if you drive a truck, if you wear boots, if you eat meat, and if you vote for a Republican, you are not toxic, you are helpful. That's what our country and the men in our country have decided. Now, the problem is the culture is trending toward alphas, toward masculinity, and the church is not led by, in large part, strong, courageous masculine men. How do we know? Well, we know because as it came into the election season, a lot of evangelical leaders and pastors either said, don't vote, or vote for Kamala Harris, or they said nothing whatsoever. And so what I am telling you is that when an election is determined by going on podcasts like Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn, in addition, when people are fairly excited about the Avengers cabinet that is being assembled, then it tells you that people are wanting masculine, heterosexual leadership that will call the shots, take the shots, and make decisions. This is a historic opportunity, and we need to hear what the Spirit of God is saying to the churches. And one thing that the Holy Spirit is saying is, it's time to make men a priority. It's time for the church to value men again. And that what we have seen historically is that evangelicalism has become increasingly soft, weak, woke, compromised, and it is time for strong men to to enter into the pulpit and enter into the ministry and lead with a sense of actual testosterone-driven, Elijah-like, Paul-like, Jeremiah-like, prophetic courage and ministry that is led by masculinity. The world is crying and desperate for strong male leadership. We are seeing many non-Christians in the political space rise up to fill that gap. And it is time for the Church of Jesus Christ to return to a traditional understanding of binary gender and also masculinity being a solution and not a problem. Part of the problem within the evangelical church is that post-World War I and II, the church has primarily only been led by and appealed to women and children. Here's why. The men went to war, they had an enemy, they had a leader, they had a chain of command, they had a brotherhood, they had a mission, and while they were away, it was women, children, older men, and soft men who were left in country. They attended the church. Next thing you know, the church is decorated by women with an environment that honestly appeals to women. The older man who didn't go to war becomes the pastor, and the soft man who couldn't win a war became the worship leader. The result is that the church became weak. It became soft. And we want church to be for women and children, but at the end of the day, if we lose the men, we lose the war. And if you get the men, you win the war. Men came home from war, they went to church, they said, this is for older men, women, and children, it is not for men. I don't see a man up front who is leading like a general. I don't see an enemy, spiritual warfare, being preached against. I don't see a band of brothers that work together to serve and to bring good. The result is that following World Wars I and II, the men vacated the church and they have never been back. There are 60% of church attenders today are female, and the least likely person to attend a church is the person that chose the president. Young men who are masculine and looking for hope, leadership, and a future. What this means is that the Church of Jesus Christ has young men crying out, give me leadership, give me vision, give me a mission, give me a brotherhood, give me a general, give me a cause. And if we meet that opportunity, it could change the generations to come. And if we do not, it is a wasted opportunity at a historic moment when the Spirit of God is saying clearly, young men matter, and they're looking for a leader.
Thanks for joining me. My name is Pastor Mark. I've been teaching the Bible for more than 3 decades and head-on constant collisions with woke culture, and I would love to get you more Bible teaching. 2 things you can do. Go ahead and watch the sermon in total and also subscribe to the channel, and I'll just keep sending you Bible teaching, and we'll have a lot more fun together.